Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of emotional safety. You can be in a room full of voices and still feel completely unseen. And you can be alone and feel deeply connected. So why does loneliness hurt so much? Why does it feel physical, like a pressure in the chest or a tightness in the throat? Because loneliness is not just an emotion. It is a biological signal. Your brain experiences isolation the same way it experiences danger. Not metaphorically, literally. When human beings were evolving, being separated from the group meant one thing: death, no protection, no shared food, no shared awareness. So the brain learned something very early. Connection equals survival, and isolation equals threat. That programming still runs inside you today, even though the world looks different. When you feel lonely, your brain does not say, "I am missing people." It says, "I am not safe." And once the brain believes you are not safe, everything changes. Your nervous system shifts. Your attention narrows. Your thoughts become darker. Your memories become heavier. You start to see the world through a lens of loss. That is why loneliness often feels like something is wrong with you. Not because something is wrong, but because the brain is trying to solve a threat. And the easiest explanation it finds is, I am the problem. Loneliness doesn't just make you sad. It changes how you think. When the brain senses social isolation, it becomes hyper-alert. It starts scanning for rejection, for judgment, for signs that you don't belong. A neutral look becomes suspicious. A delayed message becomes abandonment. Silence becomes proof. This is not weakness. This is threat detection. The brain would rather assume rejection than miss it, because missing it would be dangerous. So the lonely mind becomes a mind that overinterprets. It reads between lines that don't exist. It feels excluded even when it isn't. Not because it is broken, but because it is trying to protect you. But protection comes with a cost. Loneliness makes the brain more self-focused, not in a narcissistic way, in a survival way. When you are socially safe, your attention flows outward. You notice others. You feel curiosity. You feel openness. When you feel alone, your attention collapses inward. You monitor your words, your tone, your face, your value. You become a project that needs fixing. This is why loneliness feels exhausting. You are not just missing people, you are constantly managing yourself. And that constant self-monitoring creates anxiety, because you are always asking, am I okay? Am I enough? Am I too much? Did I say the wrong thing? This internal tension is not your personality. It is your nervous system in defense mode. Loneliness also changes memory. When you feel isolated, your brain starts retrieving memories that match that state. You remember moments of rejection, moments of being misunderstood, moments of being left. Not because those moments define you, but because the brain is searching for patterns. It wants to explain why you feel this way, so it pulls evidence from the past to justify the present. And slowly, your story about yourself shifts. You stop saying, I am alone right now, and start saying, I am someone who is alone. A temporary state becomes an identity. That is how loneliness becomes self-sustaining. The brain believes it is who you are. Loneliness also reduces motivation. When you feel connected, the future feels reachable. When you feel isolated, the future feels pointless. Why try? Why hope? Why invest? The brain doesn't want to move forward when it feels unsupported. So energy drops. Initiative fades. Even simple things start to feel heavy. This is why loneliness often looks like depression. Not because you are broken, but because your brain is conserving resources in what it believes is a hostile environment. There is something else. Loneliness makes people cling to fantasy, not imagination, but imagined connection. You replay conversations. You think about people who are gone. You imagine versions of yourself being understood, admired, loved. The mind creates relationships where none exist, because the need for connection does not disappear just because the world is silent. So it turns inward and starts building substitutes. This is why loneliness often comes with nostalgia, with longing, with emotional attachment to the past. The brain is not stuck. It is searching for belonging. But here is the quiet truth. Loneliness is not solved by more people. It is solved by more safety. You don't need a crowd. You need one place where you don't have to perform, where you don't have to explain yourself, where you don't have to be acceptable. The brain relaxes when it feels emotionally held, not socially surrounded, emotionally held. And sometimes that safety does not come from others. It comes from awareness, from noticing what is happening instead of believing what the loneliness tells you. Because loneliness tells stories. It says you are behind. It says you are unlovable. It says you are invisible. But those are not facts. They are signals from a brain that thinks it is in danger. So ask yourself this: is my loneliness describing reality? Or is it describing a nervous system that needs reassurance? And if you could offer yourself that reassurance, not through distraction, not through numbing, but through presence, what would begin to change? That moment of awareness is where thought begins.